Hospital workers, what regrets do you hear from dying patients? I worked in hospice. Top regret was not spending time with family and/or lost time due to a family feud. Probably number 2 was wasting their life with their spouse, for various reasons, when they could have possibly been with someone they loved/met a soulmate. Number 3 was usually not accomplishing a bucket list item such as living in a foreign country. We were not supposed to let people bring their pets in to say goodbye. Other people could have allergies or an untrained pet could poop somewhere, but I always told family members to smuggle in Fluffy in an oversized purse Paris Hilton style. Large dogs were harder, but since they were literally emotional support animals at the time, I never told them to leave. I worked as an oncology nurse right out of nursing school. I was barely 21 years old. Had a patient about my age who was dying of lung cancer. A few hours before he died, I sat with him and he was telling me how much he wished that he would have had more time to maybe fall in love, marry, have kids. He was so young. He asked me to call his parents and he died shortly after they arrived. It was awful. His regrets were more about the life not lived. Many older patients had some interesting life stories and most wanted to tell them before they died. Most were at peace with the life they lived. Many regretted working so much and not spending enough time with family. I was a hospice nurse. One of my elderly patients had skin cancer, a huge malignant melanoma on the side of his neck that was growing rapidly. He had been a farmer all his life and never married. One night we were talking and I asked him if there was anything he wished he had done differently in his life, and he thought about it a minute and said he wished he had worn a hat when he was farming. I wish he did too. I remember of this 40-year-old patient that I had was dying from breast cancer that spread throughout her body. She was diagnosed with breast cancer 10 years earlier and had a mastectomy. The doctor recommended for her to have a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction due to high risk of recurrence of cancer. She said that she wanted to keep her breast, a real breast rather than an implant, in case she remarries and will be somewhat whole. She regretted not getting the bilateral mastectomy. If she did, she would not gotten cancer in her remaining breast and dying at such a young age. The patient never ended up marrying after all. A week later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I instantly told the doctor that I want a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction. I also had an aggressive form of cancer. My doctor kept pushing a lumpectomy, which I probably would have gotten before I have heard how much she regretted her decision. I feel that she actually saved my life sharing and opening up with her regret of all time. Edit, thank you all so much. I thought this would just get buried. I pray that the ones facing breast cancer will recover and my prayers are with you. You are not alone in this. I was 48 years old at the time of my diagnosis and have been cancer-free for the 10 years now. I think of that lady often. She was a mother of 5. She was a true blessing to me. She was my last patient on my last shift prior to getting my results and starting chemo. If it wasn't for her, I know I would not be here. Edit, I had grade 3 HER2 breast cancer. He was one of my first patients as a nursing student, named Frank. He was 92. After knowing him a few days, he disclosed to me his regret was outliving everyone he loved, that he and his wife hadn't had kids, and he was, all that was left, and that he wanted to see his wife again. I wasn't sure how to respond, so I just listened, and it made me realize how living so long isn't great if everyone you love is gone. He passed away later that week, and while I distinctly recall some of my classmates being upset, I felt relief for him. I knew he was where he wanted to be. I've had many patients since, but you tend to remember your first ones. Other than that, ditto what everyone's saying, more time with family or loved ones, wish they wasted less time with work or other bullshit, etc. Paramedic but close enough. Made a run on a woman in her 30s for shortness of breath. Her and her boyfriend had just moved into an apartment together. They were fighting over something trivial, which room to unpack first or something. He thought she was just being dramatic. We transported, she never made it. Went from awake and talking to unresponsive and asystolic, no cardiac activity, in a matter of seconds. They were so caught up in a little argument that they never said goodbye. They never told each other they loved them. She didn't have any last words. And honestly, that's even worse. Back when I was a teenager, my brother and I were real close. We would watch scary things together, Ghost Adventures, Haunted, a bunch of other cheesy things. He loves running into my bedroom and asking if I wanted to play Call of Duty Zombies. Which he totally sucked at, was a horrible listener. He would have given anything to make everyone happy, when he could. He almost drowned trying to fish out our brother's fishing rod. We convinced him to dress as a woman and flaunt himself on the highway. He loved to make weird-ass popcorn seasoned with sugar and cinnamon. He loved rescuing spiders. He gave a homeless guy that had his granddaughter his food because they looked hungry. He was a good kid. Every day, I wake up and think about how kind he was. The last thing I told him was he was a piece of shit. It has been almost 10 years, and I will never forgive myself. I had a teenage girl in my psych ward because she had tried to kill herself by overdosing with pills. Was touch and go, but she was revived and admitted. When her parents could come in and see her once she was awake, she was ugly, crying about how sorry she was for taking the pills and how she didn't want to die. Her parents were sobbing and telling her it was okay and they loved her. And then later they all went home and we didn't see them again. And that's the way I need to tell that story to prevent myself from breaking down and not being able to work there anymore. There is nothing in the spoiler below which is worth knowing. For real, trigger warning for self-harm. I read the coroner's report into her death a few years later, from a later attempt which was successful. They concluded that no combination of interventions or specialists could have prevented this death. Felt like I got physically punched reading that. Still hurts. My mom did home health and hospice. My stepdad was very abusive and my mom would take me to work with her to try and protect me. She didn't want to leave him due to religious beliefs. That's a different story. There was an old man. I'd play cards with him. We'd talk about working on the farm we had. He was a nice guy. He figured out I was being physically abused. His health started declining and he couldn't play cards or get out of bed. The last time I saw him, he said he was sorry he wasn't younger and that he couldn't help me. Almost 25 years ago and I still remember him. Dang, this one hit me in the heart. I wish I could let him know that we did leave my dad and I grew up to have a good life. I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but I can remember the few bright spots of kindness as compassion some people showed me. I did training to be a certified nursing assistant and we had to work in a nursing home as part of our training. I didn't really get into any deep conversations with the patients there, but I can say this. If you have family in a nursing home, please visit with them. It's a sad and lonely place to be. It really is. I'm doing my nursing school clinical in one right now and it's fucking sad. On my shift yesterday, people asked me to translate for one resident who was agitated and crying in Portuguese. No one could understand her. I went to her room and asked her what she needs. She said she wants to go to bed and sleep. She's alone, doesn't have her husband, and her kids forgot about her. It's just sad. I'm all alone, she said with tears in her eyes. Please, visit your family if they're in a nursing home. I was a new nurse, flying solo. We got a call for an incoming trauma, woman in her 50s involved in a multi-car accident. We were already at the ambulance bay, unsure of the woman's complete condition. She rolled in breathing on her own, but very labored with asymmetrical chest expansion. She was profusely bleeding, had multiple deep lacerations, pupils blown, debris covering most of her, etc. Her vitals were unstable, she was circling the drain, we knew she was on the verge of coding. I was standing near her head, ready to assist in supporting her airway but also providing comfort and doing my best to calm her. The woman looked me directly in the eyes and in a hoarse, labored voice stated, I was angry. I told her I was disappointed in her. She began to cry, her vitals plummeted. I'm sorry, was the last thing she said before her heart stopped. We coded her, intubated her, performed round after round of advanced cardiac life support, only to eventually have to call time of death. I still see her face at times, her eyes filled with more emotional pain than physical. It took much longer and was so much harder to write this than I thought it would be. Were you able to figure out who she was talking about, or talk to the family about it? That kind of situation, from the perspective of the other person, must be horrible. Your mother telling you she's disappointed in you, then dying in a car crash. Maybe you think it was partly your fault. Regardless, you think that your mother died disappointed in and angry at you. If the nurse was able to tell me that she had regretted that in the end, and had simply been angry, that might save years of emotional trauma. We all assumed she was talking about her daughter, who was in the passenger seat and killed during the accident. It was just the two of them in the vehicle. The daughter unfortunately had already passed before first responders arrived. Given the context, I think it's safe to assume she was talking about her daughter. That is how we all perceived it. AEMT here. Most patients that I see in my ambulance are too sick to talk in these cases, but one sticks with me. Mid-40s male called us for chest pain, put a 12 lead on, and he was in the middle of a massive heart attack. For those that know the term, he was throwing tombstones. Sad part was he had medical training, so he knew that it wasn't good. We were screaming to the hospital. He looked me dead in the eye and goes, "I should have ate that fucking cake." When I asked what he meant, he told me, "Fuck what others think. If it makes you happy, do it. Eat the cake, pet a squirrel, take a nap. F anyone else, it doesn't matter." He crashed shortly after we got to ER, didn't come back. Now at least if I want to do something purely for the fun of it and my wife asks why I want to, all I have to say is I want to pet the squirrel. Edit for more information. Obligatory, please don't actually pet wild squirrels. They will not be entertained that you are messing with them and put their teeth to work. Tombstones on a EKG are indicative of a massive damage being done to the muscle of the heart due to blockage, and due to electrical signals being seen actually look like tombstones, also known as widowmakers, due to the fatality rate. I couldn't tell him what his EKG said due to my level of training. I can only obtain and transmit them, not interpret them, but he asked to see it and knew what he was looking at. Not sure it belongs here, but I'll vent anyway. Both grandparents passed within a month and a half of each other earlier this year, likely due to COVID-related issues. It was pretty difficult. My mom FaceTimed me crying in my Nana's final days because my Nana was asking her to get me on the phone. Nana was thinking she was drowning and no one would get her out of there, that mom wouldn't listen to her. There was obviously no water in the hospital, and she was on like the 6th floor. But she kept pleading for me to get her out. Mom crying hysterically. I had to tell Nana I took care of it and the water is no longer in there. She took a big sigh of relief, thanked me for doing it. She said her arms felt like they were about to rip off because she was holding on so tight to stay afloat. I told her she can rest now. That it's all been taken care of. Told her how much I love her, how much we all love her, but encouraged her to rest up. Apparently she'd been hysterical for some hours, which is exhausting. She started resting. Fucking sucks. Tearing up as I write this. The fucking circle of life, man. It can be wretched and wrought with pain. Just sucks. And it really sucks that, living in a different city, 4 hours driving distance, that I would have but couldn't be there due to COVID, for either one of them in their last days, especially knowing that we, their grandkids, were their whole light of life. Rest in peace, Nana and Granddad. A little different, but I worked in a gastrointestinal lab and we had a much older man, late 70s, probably maybe late 80s, it's been a while, come in for gastrointestinal issues. While doing the procedure we found cancer and it was a death sentence. Super bad, and I think he had refused to have a colonoscopy up until this point. The doctor said it was horrific, we couldn't get past the cancer, it was so bad. He said maybe a few months. We finish up and I am at bedside with the patient and doctor comes in to talk and family wouldn't believe it. The guy wouldn't believe it. The doctor backed down and not once told him how bad it actually was. I was pretty upset because doctor basically lied to the family and gave them false hope because they wouldn't stop arguing and he just didn't care to tell them the truth. I still wonder often about what happened to him. If he spent his last days fighting it and wearing himself out, or if let himself enjoy his last few months. Colon cancer is horrific. It looks exactly like the word cancer. It's disgusting. It looks alien. Please people, get your colonoscopy when you are told. It's not just you are saving, it's your kids who will get screening earlier if they find something in you, but if you don't they'll never know they are at risk. I work in a hospital. Whenever someone is at the end of their life, they always just want to be with their loved ones. Any regrets I've heard is always family related. They wanted more time with the people they love. Most people are at peace with things though. People also tend to wish they took their health seriously. I read an essay by a dying woman once. I remember the lines, "I want more time with Jason, her husband. I want more time with my kids." She was 51 when she wrote this and died. Her kids were in college or just passed. She'd been married about half her life and her husband was about the same age, so a young widower. What you said just reminded me of that. Everyone wants what they can't have. Time. Not yet, I can't die yet, I still have so much growing to do. I want to see my children and grandchildren grow up. I am a physician trainee who has done a decent amount of palliative care. I have been privileged to hear many stories and be part of many deaths, but I still can't explain why it is that certain lines remain with me and hit me so much harder. The gentleman who told me the line above was in his late 60s, early 70s. It made me reflect on how I view patients in this age group. Yes, much older than myself, but still with growing and living to do. I also think of a woman in her 50s I met early on in my training. She and her female partner had never married, partly due to laws, partly because it had never seemed important. When she was diagnosed with metastatic pancreatic cancer, they regretted never making that step. I attended their small wedding in the hospital. She died a few days later. My grandpa passed away when I was around 12 from a brain tumor. My mom and her brother were outside the hospital room talking to the doctors, and I was alone with him, and we were just chatting. All of the sudden, he got real quiet, and looked at me and said, "Sub-Lieutenant, never let a vice be an escape from reality." The look in his eyes, I will never forget the pain I saw in them. My mom had been drilling it into my head from a young age that I should never gamble, because my grandpa had an addiction, would lose entire paychecks playing cards. She grew up in small towns, and my grandma only worked part-time as a nurse. Seeing the look my grandpa had, I could tell how much pain he still lived with, knowing that his addiction caused his kids to go to bed hungry some nights all those years ago. I had a patient who I was in the room with when her doctor explained she only had a few weeks to live. I knew her well, spent quite a bit of time talking to her up to the news. The days that followed, she seemed to have accepted she was dying. She lived this beautiful, independent, and successful life, maybe not money successful, but just plain happy. Anyways, when I was helping her to the tub on day 10 since receiving the news, she just broke down crying and couldn't stop crying about how much she wished she didn't put her dog down because they could have died together. Come to find out, her dog was on his deathbed too. I guess she put her dog down a few days before going into the hospital. She knew her life was over, so she put him down first. She hated herself for it and for the fact she blew the opportunity for them to spend their last moments together. Really heartbreaking to watch, to hear that unfold. She passed early in the morning 2 days later. I took a couple of mental health days off after she passed and spent some time looking up dogs to adopt and new jobs to apply for. That's just really sad. Do you still think about this to this day? I can't imagine going through that much sadness like that. Yes, I think about it regularly, the first thing that came to mind when seeing the question. Hard not to cry when writing it out, hard not to cry right now. I used to be a nursing student. I decided to drop out in my second year because it wasn't where my heart was. During my placement at the city hospital, I got to talking to an older man. He must have been like 88 then, 2010. He was talking about how I look exotic and always complimented my long hair, etc., etc. I was never threatened or put off by it. One day he told me I looked like the woman he wished he never let go, that he was completely happy about how his life turned out, loved his family and late wife, but he always thinks about the woman he shouldn't have let go by. Years later, I met a guy at work who ended up moving across the country for work. I remembered this old man and followed my heart. I never let my love get away. I married him this summer. You should always at least try. Even if it doesn't work out, go for it and find out so you never wonder. Edit. Wow, thanks for all the responses and the cute award. I wasn't expecting people to react to a cheesy experience like mine. 3 people DM'd me to elaborate on my story with the old man, John David, or JD as I'd called him. Here it goes. JD described this woman and his relationship with her as the perfect little blip in his life. She was a petite Indian woman, I am a petite Pakistani woman, with long black hair and the most amazing smile. They met when he was 18 and she was 16. He was a jock at college and realized that her brother was taking the same classes as him. So he befriended the dorky Indian guy to get to his sister, who worked at the grocery store in town. That's how they met, and it worked. They dated for 6 months before she randomly broke it off. Turned out she was just uncertain about where their relationship would go and could go as an interfaith and racial couple. JD wished he fought harder, because her brother married a Chinese woman, and if it weren't for his jockey dumb attitude, he would gotten over her decision to end things and fought harder for her to understand it would be alright. Decades later, this petite, long-haired girl with an amazing smile, me, comes back into his life, and he was flooded with the memories of the love of his life. He said the 6 months they were together were just the most deep and loving and peaceful months of his life. He should have been with her and she was the one who got away. He said back then, you would fall in love in weeks and you loved hard, and that was the love of his life. To the people in this thread contemplating asking out their crush, do it. To the girls out there waiting on the guy to make a move, do something about it. To the person unhappy with their career choice, dude, I changed my mind twice. If you put your head down and try, you will always find some solace in that.